straight out of the box, we've got here an interesting and different prototype that fits with the 040 chassis. Hi there to you, welcome back to the channel. I'm Jenny Kirk, welcoming you back up to the loft here on Weir Yard. And today we're going to be looking at a new release of a product from Enwyn's 3D. These are 3D printed loco bodies designed to sit on top of older redundant chassis that you might have from things like Hornby railroad locomotives. And it's a great way to modernise your collection and at the same time introducing a locomotive type that isn't available ready to run elsewhere. Now on the channel we've reviewed some of their products before and been really impressed by them, so I'm really pleased to have been given the opportunity to have a look over their newest release and to take it on a road test in association with our sponsor today, Trainomatic, makers of DCC decoders and accessories. So come with me and I'm really looking forward to showing you this new great product. Enwyn's 3D is a smaller manufacturer and supplier of models and layouts to the enthusiast. We've reviewed a number of their products over the last year or so, including the 4x1, which is an excellent introduction to building your first more professional styled model railway suitable for taking to exhibitions, which takes all of the aggro and heartache of electrics, track work and baseboard construction out of the equation and lets you start on the fun scenery side of things. They also do a full range of 3D printed locomotive bodies, like this Cambrian Railways Hunslet here. This is one that we reviewed a little while back on the channel, and I was very impressed that it brought to the market a prototype type that hasn't been offered ready to run from any of the manufacturers. It utilises a donor chassis, in this case one of the Electrotren 060 chassis, which are actually quite inexpensive on the market and build up into quite a unique locomotive that runs really well, with the added bonus with the Electrotren chassis that it is fully DCC ready. I've chosen to paint this up like a locomotive that's been sold out of service into industrial use, and I'm really pleased with the effect that you can get from these 3D printed bodies. We also took a look at some of the other Enwyn's 3D products, like the Cadbury's Avonside 040 tank, designed to fit onto the Railroad 040 Smoky Joe type chassis. And I'm sure that everybody's collection, probably harking back to childhood days, has something like one of these. They've been vastly utilised under a whole host of different models from Hornby from the very early 1980s, and I know that my childhood was punctuated with a number of these as well. As a child gets older, often these get relegated to the back of the cupboard, the bottom of the toy box, as more serious modelling concerns take over, and these just don't cut the mustard when that point is reached. But all is not lost. They do provide a fabulous donor chassis that, with one of the Enwyn's 3D printed bodies, you can buy either as a printable file to use your own 3D printer, or the bare 3D printed body, or finally the finished and painted 3D body ready to just snap fit onto the chassis. So there's a lot of scope for how much or how little you're prepared to do to alter your old railroad chassis into something more palatable for your model railway. It's quite simply, all we have to do is firmly pull off the lid, slide that to one side. This of course doesn't have a motor because I filmed another video where I tested it to destruction and I haven't been able to repair it. The motor really did just burn out completely, but it does prove the principle. Once that body is removed, we bring in the model. It's the Great Western Railway Collet designed 1101 class of 040 dock shunting tanks. They're quite an interesting little prototype that has never been offered ready to run from any manufacturer in any scale. And I was really quite pleased to see something so different. It's not a locomotive I'm familiar with, and it does have a lot of the hallmarks of the Avonside Locomotive Company, similar to that Cadbury's locomotive that we reviewed a little while back. This is fully finished, so it's been primed, painted in the black, and it's got the ferritin dartboard totems there on both sides, and also representation of some of the coal that would have been carried on the tank tops. They were, of course, just dock shunters, so their range was fairly limited, and they were able to stop frequently for more fuel. The actual printing definition is reasonable from the 3D printing. We've got the representation there of the smokebox door and the hinges. The chimney is really nicely done, and this is a good starting point from which to add your own detail and embellishments. As we saw with the Hunslet, there's a lot that you can do with these, and even over and above what I've done with this is a great starting point, and it won't break the bank. It comes as a one-piece 3D printed body, and it's actually quite sturdy. This material isn't fragile, and what's impressed me is that we don't get that stratification which I've come to expect from 3D printed. It's probably an expectation that is not really borne out by the fact, and certainly you can see here that it does look pretty reasonable. The new top is designed to be a perfect push fit. Just very carefully and snugly pushes down and fits on top perfectly. Enwyn's 3D have also shown on their website a video which shows how to fit these with the more prototypically accurate Welshats type valve gear, and it really does dramatically improve the look of these. But they can be a project on the go. You can build them up over time as skills and motivation strikes you, but immediately, straight out of the box, we've got here an interesting and different prototype that fits with the 040 chassis, which, in all honesty, by and large, ignore the fact that I burnt out the motor on this one, they are very, very reliable chassis and plentiful. I've seen them for as cheap as under £10 in swap meets in the big box underneath trade stands, and generally speaking, they always work. And this is a great way to expand your locomotive fleet, not just with this Avonside, but all the other models that Enwyn's 3D offers. They've also sent over a brochure, so we've got on here some of the details from their product range. The bottom there, that's the website. We've got that in the description box down below. And it's really nice to see some of the cameo scenes that can be created using the products, seen here photographed on their brewery layout. Their full range is listed in here, from the Andrew Barclay Blue, which is a fireless locomotive that we reviewed before, that makes use of the Daypole L&Y Pug chassis. Also the GWR absorbed Hunslet, which is this model, and then the Avonside 040 tank, which is a straight swap for a Hornby Caledonian, it says here, 040 chassis, but that's the same as the Smoky Joe chassis with, as it says, no screws or fixings needed. Converting your old Hornby model into one of these all-new, all-singing and all-dancing 3D printed models is actually really, really easy. But to help you along, I noticed that Enwyn's 3D do have a range of videos on their website and their Facebook page as well, just to help you out. And I've never had a problem getting a response when I've queried anything with them, so they really are on the ball for dealing with any queries from customers. Overall, I think this is a great idea. It's something that suits all skill sets, to be able to take a very basic railroad type locomotive, discard the top, using the gubbins and making something special and unique. And as I said before, this can be seen as a starting point. There's a full video showing this with a converted Welshats valve gear fitted. You can add detail, weathering, all manner of different features that will build up into a very, very presentable 1101 class Avonside from the Great Western Railway. The prototypes were very long lasting. Built in 1926, they ran right through to when the last of the 6 that were built were withdrawn in 1960. Sadly, none of these locomotives have survived. I'd like to thank Enwyn's 3D models for sending this over and giving me a chance to review it, and I'm really looking forward to see how the range develops. They've already told me that they're working on an all-new model that's going to be using the old style Hornby X-Daypole Terrier as the donor chassis, and I'm actually really looking forward to that because I've got a number of those locomotives just crying out for a new use, and I'm sure that some of you as well have got something similar. It's a great way to breathe new life into older locomotives that don't pass muster anymore by giving them an all-new 3D printed body. We've put a full list of URLs in the description box to take you to Enwyn's 3D models and their Facebook page, and also a link to their own video showing these running in that we've used a few snippets of during this video. So I'm really happy to bring to you this really interesting way of doing something a little bit different with older models. Well, I hope you found that video informative. Don't forget to like this video and also consider sharing it on social media. And if you haven't already done so, do please consider subscribing and clicking that bell to be the first to know about new videos as and when they go up. Also, you can head on over to Patreon and help to support us to make the videos that you want to see. And until next time, this is me, Jenny Kirk, saying you take great care of yourself, stay well, happy modelling, bye for now. Today's video is sponsored by Trainomatic, makers of DCC decoders designed to be fully compatible with every manufacturer's locomotive. Visit train-o-matic.com to browse the full range and see what they've got suitable for you. I'd like to send out a huge thanks to everybody who supports me on Patreon, and an extra special huge thanks goes out to Anthony Kidson, Michael Churchwood, Anthony Hunt, William Wade, Wayne Johns, Offshore Allen, oorail.co.uk, Tepic, Michael Lockie, Helen Sink, Peter Bolton, Brian and Dorothy Mudd, Gary Lewis, David Quinn, Sparky 107, George Botterini, Andy Finch, Chris Moss, Robert Sears, MD of San Juan Model Company and Grant Line Products, Sam Yates, Dale Williams, and Mo Henry. Thank you. Without you guys, I couldn't do this.